Oh my days. Come on, you know what it is. It's Wednesday night. The weather is right, and I'm Dan Lewis. And obviously, this is on the Bywire. You guys know we keep it real. Our show is here for you, and without you, we are nothing. So please make sure, if you haven't already, to hit the like button, follow button, and if you're not on YouTube, head on over and hit the subscribe button too. You know what it is. Now, also after the show, I am inviting you to own a part of our independent media. When I say our, I mean you as well. Everyone's. It's a part of our platform, and only if you can, by hitting that donate button. So when you head over to bywire.news after the show to check out all the rest of our amazing content, don't forget to hit that donate button if you can. Please do, because then you can be a part of what we're creating here, which is a revolution, my people. Yeah, I'd rather be presenting the news on a channel owned by you than one owned by those media moguls on islands in big mansions, not paying any taxes, and that are lying to us. They are lying, and we will come to that later. There is so much more of that. Now, in today's news, we heard through our friends at Squawkbox that although Number 10 said that there was a change in the Prime Minister's schedule, the truth is that the England men's football team were in fact the ones who did not want the meal with the Prime Minister. Interesting how we see a wave of confusion from the mainstream media, not understanding why this could be. Do you think it could be because the majority of the mainstream media is racist? Like, just saying. Anyway, just this morning on GMB, Richard Madeley made clear he doesn't think that we have a racist prime minister. Thanks, Richard. People of color can rest assured that a white guy that has been on TV most of his adult life doesn't think that the prime minister is racist. We'll just shut up now, yeah? Let's make this clear. You can't hide behind a report commissioned by a racist government that tells you Britain is not racist when our biggest sporting stars of the last month have directly faced racism from the country you say isn't racist. The Prime Minister is racist. Let me say that again, just in case you didn't hear it. The Prime Minister is racist. Along with his government, so is most of the mainstream media and the police and the education establishments, their structures around it, and the large majority of local authorities. Britain is racist. I'm not saying every single one person in this country is racist. I'm saying this country is inherently racist. And I've said it before on this show. I have to take that on board as well as a biracial person with white heritage. I have to understand the privileges in which I hold. And if I can do that, I think we can all do that. Britain is racist and we need to do something about it. Now, this is the start of something new and we need to be conscious of it. Johnson and Patel will not be happy after what's happened and the mud that's been thrown on their faces in the last 24 hours. They will retaliate. Just like at the end of that game on Sunday night when a lot of people of color were like, oh, shit. Yeah, that's what's happening right now with Johnson and Patel and the rest of them. They are going to retaliate. As Scar said in The Lion King, be prepared. Now, be prepared, people. Now, onto a group that are definitely prepared, and they are prepared for the battles being thrown at them, are the team at the Universities and Colleges Union branch of Liverpool. With us today, we have Roz Southern, who is the communications officer for the branch. Thank you so much for joining us, Roz. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
You're welcome.
I know that you're very busy at the moment because you got an international boycott of the Uni of Liverpool going on right now. Is that right?
That's right. So, I'll come in the middle. So, yeah, we have a boycott going on. So this is the culmination of a very long and very bitter fight that we've been having at the University of Liverpool. So should I just explain a little bit of the background before I get on to the boycott, or?
Go for it. Yeah, tell us exactly what's so basically why have you got a dispute with the university, and who's involved? You know, who does it affect?
Okay, so back in January, so this is how long this has been going on, the management announced 47 redundancies in the health and life sciences. So just a little bit of kind of context on that, you know, some of these lecturers had actually gone onto the front lines during the pandemic. They had actually, you know, kind of as healthcare workers, they'd been developing therapies. Some of them have actually developed the vaccine. And this was, you know, in HE as well as, you know, a lot of other sectors. It was kind of coming to the end of almost a year of just really hard work. So we had to kind of move our lectures online, which was a lot of extra kind of labour for us. Obviously our students are also, kind of not necessarily being able to enjoy what they want to enjoy at university. So this was just really, really shocking. We, I guess in some ways had seen it coming, because this is part of this project called Project Shape. And there'd been a phase 1, and then this was a phase 2. But in some ways we didn't see it coming, because the actual architect of this project, one of the senior managers at the university, just a few months before announcing these redundancies, said on camera at an open forum that there would be no redundancies. She basically said, this is not what the project is about. It's about teaching, it's about students, this, that, and the other, right? And then bam, they announce almost 50 compulsory redundancies of people who, had, experts in their field, great, just brilliant academics. It then became rapidly very clear that these were not lawful redundancies, so they don't meet the actual legal definition of a redundancy, which, I don't want to go into too much kind of
no problem.
Unionism 101, but a redundancy has to be where, it has to be the post, not the person. So this is based on, a cessation of the work that person does, or if there's a financial reason for it. The situation that is at Liverpool is that actually in the departments where some of these people are being forced out, they've actually been hiring people into those departments. So we know there's not a cessation of the work. And then just about a week ago, Liverpool announced, they announced a almost £20 million surplus, and then they instantly said they had 14 million that they had to spend that they didn't really explain. But in any case, they've announced 5 million surplus. So we know that this move doesn't meet the legal definition of a redundancy. It's essentially what we're seeing across a lot of different sectors. So as I'm sure a lot of people at home will know about, fire and rehire. This is essentially fire and rehire happening in higher education. And then it kind of gets worse. It's like a sort of Pandora's box of horrible things that were happening during this dispute. We found that it had been based on, so the people who had actually been targeted for redundancy had been subject to a practice we were calling rank and yank. So it's where you kind of rank everyone on some sort of performance measure, and then yank the sort of top 5 or top 10, bottom 10 or bottom 5%. This is a practice we see in Goldman Sachs or, Amazon and things like this. But, and I would never, ever defend those companies, and I do not defend this practice. But here, the academics didn't even know they were subject to these targets. Kind of, at least bankers kind of know they're subject to targets, right? They know they know that. These people, they didn't even know. A few months before, they'd been told, oh, you should go for promotion, you're brilliant, this, that, and the other. And then suddenly they're being told, bye, get out. So then we looked into the ranking. Sorry, there's so many kind of layers to this. Then we looked into the way that people have been ranked, and we found that the actual measures were just absolute nonsense. So they had used a measure that wasn't supposed to be applied. This was a measure for citations. So when we kind of write in academia, when we read other work, and if we like it, or actually sometimes if we don't like it as well, we might kind of cite the work to kind of draw upon that prior work. And it can be a measure of, you being a kind of field leading academic and stuff like this, but only if the measures are correct. The measures that the university were using were just absolute nonsense. They weren't supposed to be applied to individuals. So we did a kind of social media campaign that we were doing, kind of academic top trumps, where we were kind of saying who would get the chop at Liverpool based on these citation metrics. And it was people like such luminaries as Professor Mary Beard, Stephen Hawking, people like this. So, the measures were just absolute nonsense. And we did manage to get 15 jobs kind of saved just by making an argument before we got to strike action. But we had to go on strike even then.
That's the point with any union activity, is that you don't want to go on strike. And why I think it's always so important, and I'll always, welcome any trade unions onto the show to let us know what's going on. We even, you probably know, but we cover union news whenever they're covering any trade union stories. We'll always cover it. Tim Lazard actually did a piece on you guys just the other day as well, so big up Tim. But yeah, like, it's why I think it's so important that people gather around when workers go out on strike. It is a last resort to do that, to have to go out and lose wages, that because people forget that when you go out on strike, there isn't any money involved. That's you giving up your wages to stand up against an injustice, which in this case obviously is the redundancies. So you've got to that point where you're on strike, and how long have you been on strike now? Are you still on strike now, right?
Oh, I think it could be the 37th day of strike. But we heard a statistic the other day, I think a couple of days ago. We're now the longest dispute in Liverpool since the Dockers dispute in, wow. I think they wrapped up in 98, right? So it's 23 years.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell how obstinate and intransigent they are. Like, we're trying to make these reasonable arguments, and they've forced us through, what will it be, six weeks of lost wages at some point, I guess. And by the time this is over, I said at the start that it was 47 jobs. Now, through our action, it's only 21, and I say only because one is far too many, but it's 21 jobs at the moment, and we're kind of like, how can this still be worth it to you, to still be, creating all this chaos and creating all this, damage to the reputation and kind of stuff like this.
Because do you know what the damage, like, to answer that question, as far as I'm concerned, the damage that it can cause to one person is way more than any damage you guys can cause to a university, in my opinion. Because that's a person's life. They might have kids, they might have people that rely on them, all that kind of stuff. I fully support you guys doing that, even if it's one person. I've got a lot of respect for that when people come out and stand up for one of their colleagues, because at the end of the day, when the workers are united, they will never be defeated. So how is an international boycott coming? Like, I'm guessing this is from support from other unions. What's going on here? What's the story behind this?
Yeah, so essentially the international boycott has been called by UCU National Branch, so our kind of national union, and it's an international boycott. And essentially, it's the strongest and most serious sanction that the university can essentially call on to be applied to any institution. So I've had a few people ask me about this. So essentially, HE, higher education kind of works as a sort of ecosystem. So we rely on other institutions within higher education for certain things. So, collaborations. So I often write with people at other universities, grant applications. We need external examiners, so we can't really grant. I mean, I could talk a little bit about how the university, and we're trying to kind of bend this a little bit, but essentially we can't really grant degrees without external examiners who work at other universities. We need people to review papers at our press and at our journals. So very quickly, if people at other universities stop working with Liverpool, essentially they boycott us. Lots of different facets of the way a university works will very rapidly grind to a halt, right? So it's an incredibly serious sanction. And to be honest, even this being called for is a real kind of, I suppose I'm using quite strong language here, but it's a real stain against the reputation of the university. But this is because, it's been called because, of the horrible practices that I don't want to see in any sector, of course, but you certainly don't expect to see it in a higher education setting. And the way that they were then, so when we went onto the marking boycott, they were kind of trying to bend the rules around this. So they were calling them mitigations, but it was basically throwing academic standards out of the window. So trying to get around not having external examiners, which is our kind of, that's one of the really key kind of checks on our degrees and kind of on how we award them. They were progressing students with credits missing. They were kind of not minuting stuff properly. We saw marks springing up overnight. We had people who haven't marked for years in management, marking scripts and at least
I've seen a lot of the students have been picking up on this as well online on social media. Like it's brilliant because normally you would the normal stereotype really of students being annoyed at the university. Over the last year things have changed a lot, but it's like stuff to do with halls or to do with being able to go out and that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But like these are students who are like academically taking on the university on Twitter and on Facebook. I had a little look at the Facebook page and you can see that there's comments that are being even removed. Like I'm sure there was a post with about 200 comments on the other day and now it's on about 50, and it's like someone somewhere has had to sit there and delete comments.
I mean, I have to say the students have just been incredible. Like they've been setting up meme pages, far funnier than anything us oldies can do. They've been, they get it, right? That we like pride myself that we teach them really good critical thinking skills. They know who's to blame for this and they know where to kind of aim the blame, and they've been doing it. And yeah, they've been all over social media. They've been spontaneously organising to get a complaint to the Office for Students and the Office for the Independent Adjudicator about how they don't think they've been given kind of rigorous degrees and kind of stuff like that. And they've just been, I mean, really, like I say, it's been a long and sometimes very hard fight, but the students genuinely have kept us going. They've just been hilarious. They've been so supportive. Sometimes you're literally like almost brought to tears by how amazing they are sometimes. So yeah, they're fantastic.
That's amazing. Do you know what? Like I always say, I'll always platform any worker before I would any manager on an issue. But you don't hear this side of things. And I remember 3-4 years ago when there was another dispute going on in the middle of winter. We turned up at like 8 a.m. or something, me and Robbie, the cameraman, and there was just this massive horde of students out early in the morning that had clearly been there for a while, and they had this massive banner and it said UOL is nothing without us. And I thought, yeah, fantastic, because the students at that point, they had walked out of their lectures as well, hadn't they?
Yep.
and the solidarity, the love, the unity you've got between the staff at the University of Liverpool and the students is amazing. And obviously that student, there's been a turnover since then, they've changed. It's not the same students that were there then. And you had banners hanging out of the windows. And then during this dispute, now, if I look back over the last, the how long you've been on, you filled up the square in the main university area. You had socially distanced, of course. You had people across there. You've had there's been like a march through the city as well. It's been non-stop, and like it's only gotten bigger. You say over 30 days of strike action. But it's not like people are kind of getting worn out. They're like, oh man, when's this going to end? It's like, come on, guys, let's get out there. Let's fight this. It's brilliant. Yep. It's so fantastic. So for anyone, anyone outside of Liverpool maybe that can't make it along to the demonstrations or any of the activities that you're doing, is there anything that people can do to try and show their support? Do they need to get on Twitter? Do they need to email I don't know, do you have like a dean of a university, or what can people do to show their support?
Yeah, so definitely, keep up with the dispute on social media, but also, say if you're not in Liverpool but you're an alumni of the university, email Janet Beer, email Louise Kenny, the kind of architects of this complete disaster, or if you're a parent of a student here. Or if you're a student and you've gone home now, but you're not happy with what's happening, you can email the guild. So I think what I'll do later tonight, I'll put out a tweet, say it with the emails. So yeah, if you're an alumni, email. If you're a parent of a student, or if you're a student and you're not happy, but maybe you haven't been following along on social media or over the last few days, maybe you've just been kind of keeping quiet, but you're quietly fuming, complain, because you deserve it. This isn't acceptable, what's been happening.
I love that, quietly fuming. How do you quietly fume? Fantastic. Well, what I'll do is, make sure you do send that tweet to me when you put those details out there. I will make sure to share it. I'll ask the comms team here at Bywire to do the same as well. and we'll share that information. I'm so surprised that Janet Beer has not lost her job by now. Like, there is something wrong in the system at University of Liverpool if Janet Beer still has a job. I'm coming for you, Janet. Don't worry. I've got you. Your numbers here, bro. Anyway, listen, Roz, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I've obviously enjoyed listening to hear what's going on, but at the same time, solidarity to all of you. I hope that you save every single job, and congratulations for the work that you've done so far to save the jobs that you have saved. I'm sure you will, because big shout out to Ant as well, he's the secretary of your branch, right? And you guys, you lead by example when it comes to standing up for workers. So fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening.
No problem. See you soon. Bye bye. Thanks so much to Roz, and don't forget, these guys, they've got our full support, so make sure you get out there, you support them as well online. Now, woohoo, in today's independent news stories, we are starting off with Sean Norris in Byline Times. The government have been accused of being in breach of human rights obligations on race. In a new report, new report published by the Runnymede Trust in collaboration with 150 other organizations, reveals how racism in the UK is systemic, and points to how legislation, institutional practices, and societal customs combine to harm Black and ethnic minority groups. Damn. Lord Simon Woolley, big up Lord Simon there, of Operation Black Vote, criticized the divisive and dishonest Sewell report into race inequality, which he said represents the biggest loss to opportunity to effectively tackle systemic racism in the UK. In contrast, he said that the Runnymede Trust report offers a number of strategic recommendations which together represent a solely needed comprehensive race equality strategy fit for the 21st century. I appreciate Byline for taking the time to cover this. And as always, Sean has given us a wider perspective into this whole issue than you can get on the normal channels that, I don't even know if it's being covered elsewhere, because I only check out independent media. I know you guys do too. Now, I wonder what it will take, though, to really bring down the racist structures within our nation. Like, UN, leading sports stars, politicians, celebrities, other nations are telling the government that they're in the wrong, that they're racist. When will we bring about real change? Like, when will it happen after all these kind of groups and people coming together? Another issue the government are pretending to take action on is the environment. Yes, we are back to the environment, and big up the Canary. They've covered a Glasgow Caledonian University Centre for Climate Justice study, which has said that the climate crisis should be treated like COVID, in that the government should be providing us with daily updates with information on their steps taken to reduce climate change and what damage has been done. Imagine it, Boris having to stand there every day and tell you how much damage his policies have done to the environment. I'd love to see it. It would be fantastic. I'm pretty sure the UN would love to see it too. Now, what I like about this study is that it has had a massive interest in the people most affected by climate change, people in the global south. So often focus is put on things like plastic straws and reducing the amount of water we use, when in fact the real change needs to come from the global corporations and governments not paying attention to the impacts of their operations. Now, on the point of on the point of plastic straws, I've got a bone to pick, right? When you go to McDonald's, they've removed the plastic straws, and the new paper ones, they're not good. They're not good, right? But they've still got the plastic lids. So what's the point? Like, you've just removed the plastic straws are gone, but you still got the plastic lids, and then you can't even use them. So you end up having to use two. So that's two straws amount of like cardboard or whatever it is they've used that you've had to. So it doesn't make it make sense, man. Seriously, these companies think we're stupid. Like, they take the mick out of us. Anyway, listen, although we in the likes of the UK may experience, we have increased flooding or we have colder winters and hotter summers, there is so much worse stuff happening in the global south. And the study has been produced to advise the policymakers ahead of the upcoming COP26 climate conference in Glasgow this year. Big up the COP26 coalition. They had their event the other night. I think they had man like Corbyn on there. They're doing bits, yeah. Them lot are looking to protect our futures, our kids' futures, and our kids' futures, everyone's futures. Them people, we had them on the show recently. If you ain't checked it out, head on to YouTube, rewind a little bit on the playlist and check out the damn thing. Because, boy, I just hope those people at the UN, those world leaders, those countries, they are listening. And if they ain't, we need to make them listen, man. Trust me. Now, sticking with the Canary, Jasmine Norton has given us an update on what's going on in Cuba. On the 11th of July, thousands of Cubans took to the streets to protest the government and the lack of food and medicine that has been made worse by the coronavirus and the US embargo of the communist-led country. Now, a lot of blame is focused towards the US, and it's clear that the embargo has not helped the state of life for Cubans, costing over $130 billion in the 60 years that it has been in place. The embargo is facing steep opposition from UK MPs like Richard Bergen and Zara Sultana. Big up them two doing bits in Parliament, talking real power to truth there, yeah? Now, it's made out to be a complex situation, but in all of the pointing fingers at who is to blame, a country restricted to trade internationally by one of the most powerful neighboring countries is going to have a massive impact on the progress a country can make and how well it can look after its own people. Now, back over to the UK, where a government that definitely needs to take a look at its priorities regarding the most vulnerable in society. Yeah. Welfare Journal. Yes, here the government are discussing whether to reduce universal credit payments by £20 a week in October. Welfare Journal's Stephen Priest has had a look at the who, the what, and the why. Look at the state of this. It's just horrible. Like, there are reports that show that the lowest income a family in the UK can survive on, and our family's benefit system in the UK, the minimum should be 33 to 55% is the minimum of what people should be earning is currently at 33 to 55%. So what they're getting is a third of what they should be, the minimum. So you think about, let's say you need £100 a week to survive, to be able to pay for the basics and have a little bit left over at the end of the week to buy yourself a donut. People are getting 33% of that. It's not acceptable. It is not okay. And now they're arguing over reducing it by another £20. Think about how low that figure must already be. And they're going to remove £20 from it. And also, since the coronavirus and the lockdowns and all that, what does £20 really get you? You know, if you're living in London, it gets you about 2 pints. Like, boy, I'm lucky I live in the north. It gets me about 10 pints. No, I'm not joking. Sometimes. But we've heard today that the cost of living is increasing. We're seeing the continued rise in housing prices, but the government think it's okay to lower the income to the poorest in the country. In the last year, Britain saw the number of billionaires increase by 24 new billionaires. Many people are out of work because of this government's handling of the pandemic and also because of their handling of Brexit. This is where we are, people. This is where we are. This is where we are. And the saddest part of this is that it is likely to happen. You know they're going to vote it through. They've got the numbers in Parliament. And the mainstream media will use their interviews of people outside food banks as opportunities to get prizes. I will never, ever stand there outside of a food bank and interview people to try and get some kind of prize or to make some heartfelt documentary. That when people are having to stand outside of food banks, I respect them. I have the highest respect for those people because they are doing what they have to do to make sure that they and their families are fed. And I feel like the media use it as a circus. They use it as an opportunity to make good TV. They're not talking to the politicians and holding them to account for what they're doing to people's lives. And that's what we need to see start happening. All the way back to 2010, when this Conservative government came in, and, well, the Conservative, what are the other ones called? The Lib Dems. They're so irrelevant. When they came in back in 2010, they were not holding them to account. And in 2015, when we saw them vote for that welfare reform bill, and then we saw the Labour Party abstain on that, minus, I think, around 20 to 40 MPs. But they abstained on it. Those are the people that we need to be holding to account, and we need to be saying, what on earth are you doing? And if anyone does not vote against this, Lord help me if I ever come across their path. Wheesh. Honestly, man, if you're in a position to do so, please consider how you can further support your local food bank. Please do so. If you have a local community center that's running some kind of food bank, go and support the thing, because things are only getting worse and we need people to help people. The people will help the people. You know what we'll do is, as that time progresses, we'll have a chat with the guys at Fan Supported Food Bank, the National Food Service. We'll get those guys back on the show and talk about the ways in which people can support people in our country, because it is getting worse right now. If you don't know and you need to know, go back through on the playlist on YouTube. We done an episode with Dave Kelly from Fan Supporting Food Banks, talking about the work they're doing, and also Ian Burns' bill that's going through Parliament to make the right to food legislated in law. And also we spoke to the people at the National Food Service down in Bristol, who their national team, they're setting up ways in which people can provide food for each other at the lowest cost possible, and making sure everyone has access to food. These are simple things. I think it's fantastic, and we'll always platform those people. This government, they're at war with the poor, and it's up to us to be doing something about it. We need to be the soldiers for the people who are being attacked right now. And damn it, I will fight till the end. I will fight, and I hope you guys will be beside me. Now, over to our headline story, more from this government. The NHS is being sold, and once again, Corbyn was right. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Jeremy Corbyn held a press conference one morning during the 2019 general election, and he held up some papers, and he said, I have evidence that the government are trying to sell off the NHS. This is evidence. And the press, they tried to, oh man, the mainstream media tried to flog it off. They said, where have you got these papers? Obviously, man's not going to talk about his supplies, innit? Yeah, if Popo stop me and they're like, where'd you get that from? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you, bruv. You're going to cut off half the neighborhood, you get me? So Jeremy, he stood by his word. And then they tried to blag him like, oh, you got it off Reddit. Like, bruv, do you know how much serious information is on Reddit? The fact that the media tried to act like Reddit is not a place where you can get serious information. Yeah, you can get joke things from there, but have you seen what the mainstream media pump out? Like, I will trust Reddit before I will trust most of their mainstream media alerts. You get me? Come on now. Anyway, Caroline Malloy from Open Democracy has proven this point. A new NHS bill is going through Parliament this week. It was a white paper that's been around for a little bit, and it will lead to exactly what Corbyn was saying on that day. He said this would happen, and it's a power grab by the Treasury. The money men, the private sector, their lobbyists, they're all coming in like vultures. They're coming in for that NHS. Now, Caroline goes into detail on exactly what this bill aims to achieve. And it is beyond scary, fam. Trust me, if you love the NHS, if you were out there clapping for the NHS, if you believe that the nurses should get a pay rise, if you believe in the NHS or you were born in the NHS, this is scary, man. It is removing responsibility from the government to provide healthcare to the people. It is removing the requirement for training staff properly. And the list goes on, and what it removes and what it does. You think that there was a bill, I think in 2012, that was bad, right, on the NHS. This does nothing to fix any of the problems that were brought about by that Tory Lib Dem government. This makes it worse. When Boris tells you he cares about the NHS, he's lying. And if you believe him, shame on you, my don. Now, from every angle, this bill aims to internally ruin our national treasure and put it up for sale once and for all. We can't let it happen, people. There are many campaign groups and organizations against this bill, but our government again have their fingers in their ears and pound signs in their eyes. They laughed at him. They mocked him. They disrespected him. Corbyn told us, and the mainstream media will not accept their role in stopping him become PM. When the mud is on the faces of those people that attack Jeremy for trying to protect our NHS, I will laugh at them. I will laugh at them, and I hope you will laugh at them with me. Honestly, people, it is a madness. Now, big up all of the independent media partners that we have featured in today's show, and all of the ones that are involved with the movement, the Independent Media Association, and ourselves at Bywire News. My name is Dan Lewis. I've spoken a lot tonight. We've covered a lot of ground. Big thanks to Roz Southern, who has come on the show tonight to talk about what's going on there. Solidarity with the people. Don't know. Make sure you guys hit that like button. I want to see that like number go up and up and up. And if you haven't already, head over to our YouTube, hit subscribe, like and follow elsewhere, retweet if you're on Twitter. Don't know. Make sure you donate because I want to keep myself in a job. People, this is on the Bywire. I love you more than you love me. Peace and love.